Well, hey everybody, this is Don with the vlog of many things, and with me is a special guest tonight, along with Eric Tenkar, Stephen Lake, and Roger Rebez.
Right there. Right.
Roger just got done having Central New York Con, his first convention ever, last weekend, and we're here to kind of do kind of a post-convention breakdown. We're going to talk a little bit about a bunch of other stuff like we always get into, because we always get off the rails on this show and talk about other things too. Roger, how you doing?
Hey, good. How you now? I'm doing great now that I've had some time to actually rest.
Yep. Chad Fogley, how you doing? So Central New York Con, your first convention.
Yeah.
I know the feeling. You're kind of like in that post-convention awe.
Yeah. I think that started on the morning of day one, where I was like, "Wow, like it actually happened. People showed up, and and it was surreal for a couple days."
So Central New York Con, real quick breakdown for those who don't know about it. Tell us a little bit about it. What is it? What happened? Eric was there. Me and Steve were not. So
yeah. So I really wanted to get a convention off the ground locally. There really wasn't anything here. There's a lot of conventions that are all pop culture adjacent. There's the anime cons and things like the retro video game cons and all of that stuff. And and they all have the same thing. They all advertise RPGs, and and it's always like one or two tables of 5e, in a dark corner. It's somebody's home game or whatever. And I'm like, man, we gotta have something, up here. And I'm going out of state all the time. So I finally decided, you know what, let's try it and see what happens. And a handful of people got involved, and they spread the word, and it happened, and that's that's it. And we just built it based on what we thought was, the right thing to do, and tried to take, everything that we liked from conventions and everything, that we complained about with other conventions, to try and just cut that out and just build something. And it was fantastic.
So what was your final member count or attendee count, if you don't mind me asking?
So pre-sold and pre-made badges, including all of the special guests, vendor staff, and everything, was 124. And then we've got we had 78 walk-ins.
That's actually really that's really respectable for a first con.
Yep.
78 walk-ins.
So 202 was our number of bodies through the door. So, which I thought was fantastic. I was fine with it. Saturday morning at 124, I figured we'd get a handful of people and maybe hit 150. But yeah, I was just blown away with just the people that showed up. It was awesome.
Gotcha. And you are doing this, I take it, again next year?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I talked to the hotel on Monday, and we're doing it again next year. We're gonna try and do Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Just with the way some of the stuff worked out, we're gonna try and do start Friday afternoon and then end like Sunday late afternoon.
Now, just a suggestion from one convention organizer officially to another is, if your intention is to get that hotel every year, be very careful, because like weddings and stuff always like book it a year or two in advance. Make sure you get your hotel locked in for those days, because we talked before the show a little bit. I guess you're gonna try to stay at this hotel because it was a really good experience.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, it was fantastic. The hotel was really great. Eric has mentioned that the internet speed was pretty good.
It was the internet speed I get here in this house using Fios. It blew my mind, and that was they weren't trying to upsell you, like, if you want actual internet, if you want to do more than check email, it'll be $15.99 a day. Nope.
Yeah.
It was spot on
And
awesome.
that was the big thing with our venue is the internet was off and on. I had Darlene I walked Darlene up to the front counter because she couldn't even log into the internet.
Wow.
So we're moving our venue from Kalamazoo, Michigan to Battle Creek, Michigan next year. So
yeah,
much better hotel. So I get it. I mean, the hotel's everything.
Sure, absolutely. And the venue definitely worked with us.
Chubby Funster asked a question. Says, "How much gaming did you get done as the organizer?"
Yeah. I don't know if that's a joke question, but I got zero gaming in. But I gotta say, I didn't really miss it. I travel, I go to conventions, and I always play. That's because I DM all the time at home. So I play at conventions, but being at this one, like I was so busy and just loving it. Like I didn't miss playing, because just being there running it was just amazing.
Running it is a full, and I noticed that too, because I thought to myself, I'm going to miss gaming. I'm going to miss all this, but no, you don't, because you're so busy interacting with everybody.
Yeah.
Elke of Antioch asked, may I ask if you broke even plus a bit?
Yeah, we did. We did break even. We did break even. We're in the black by a very small amount.
Hey, you know what?
But that's way better than I expected. Yeah.
Yep. Bad Mike says Don's correct. Book as soon as possible. That's right. Because what you don't want to see happen, especially because that was the new hotel venue that warned us of that, because they're one of only 2 venues in the city of Battle Creek, and the other one's like really big. And they're the one that we originally had back in 2024 that backed out on us last minute. And so just get it when you can and grab onto it.
Yeah, they have us penciled in on the date, and they've assured me that nobody's going to take it. So we should be good.
Yeah,
but we're just still working out the details.
Yep. Bad Mike says most hotels and convention centers are first come, first served. Yeah. And for those of you who don't know, Bad Mike runs North Texas RPG Cons, so Bad Mike knows a little bit about conventions. So
he was a big help. I chat with him a little bit on and off through this whole process. So
So any problems? What would you say your biggest hiccup was at Central New York?
We had some issues in the beginning with registration and some getting people checked in. My wonderful wife was there at the desk, and I was trying to run around and had some things going on, and so that kind of slowed down with people trying to purchase badges that were there and get people checked in and everything else. So I think next year in the beginning, at least to start the day, we need a couple people there to do things.
And Bad Mike makes a really good point. He says, Roger, get a contract signed and you're good. You want words on signature. Okay, because this is the problem that we ran into. We had a contract with our venue. The venue coordinator quit and moved to a different hotel.
Oh boy.
And 2 days before the date of the con, the general manager didn't want to honor the contract.
Oh, that's
so I had to actually threaten the new venue, the general manager, with going, we're still going to have it because I'm going to have people show up here, and I'm having the news here. We're having these people here. And he finally backed down. But yeah, Bad Mike is right. I mean, even if you have good relations with them, get it in writing.
She is. Yeah, she's supposed to email all that information over to me, and we're gonna, we're gonna handle that.
Yep. Charlie Funster says, "How'd you handle noise in a big ballroom like that?" I saw some pics on Twitter.
Yeah. It's very difficult in a convention of any size, right? Even, I mean, it's difficult for me in a room with 6 other people, trying to play a game by ourselves. But they had rugs in the hotel and a drop ceiling in the ballrooms there, so that helped a little bit. There is noise carryover, and that is an issue. I don't think it was as big of an issue as it is at some larger conventions that have more tables put together.
North Texas does pretty well with noise because most of the gaming rooms have the dividers or those heavy screens.
Sure. Sure.
So that's nice. But the main open area can get noisy.
Yeah.
Page has a lot of gaming area, but the problem is that it's a venue that's not made to control noise. It's probably made to accentuate noise. It's like an arena.
Sure.
So something like Page, Total Con handles it pretty well because it's for a lot of it.
Yeah.
The role-playing games, they are 2 or 3 tables in a room. For the war gaming and the board gaming, it's a huge room.
Yeah.
But there's less people at each table.
Yeah, I noticed that with Total Con was like in the big board game room, Eric. You were there too. A lot of people were in there, but I think a lot because it was heavily carpeted and the way it was laid out, you didn't have a huge issue with noise.
And role players get excited and scream like, yeah,
Sure.
Whereas board gamers are like, unless they're flipping the table over, they're not doing much.
Yeah. I think we did pretty good. We didn't have, we had a few people that not really complained, but but everybody knows you're in a big room full of people. And I really, with the amount of noise that we had, I'm thinking about dropping 1 or 2 tables from the main area, but I don't want to split that area up and have, I really, really enjoyed, I think it was better to deal with a little bit of noise or listening to what's going on at the neighboring tables but have everybody in one room. I really don't want to have, a separate room. I know that would work better for gaming, but I mean, we're all there together.
Can you fit in that big room?
Not a lot. Well, the sign on the door says 375. But no, we can.
That's fire code.
so 375. No, I think we had at most, we had probably 80, 90 people in the room at one time. Gaming at the gaming tables, probably, 60 people or so. So I think if we take a couple tables out of there, that we'll be a little bit better off. But again, I'm really hesitant to do that. I understand the noise thing and all that, but
it wasn't that bad. I've been at cons where it's been worse.
Yeah.
It wasn't that bad.
Mike Saxon says, as a vendor, it was nice being in the main room because I was able to actually walk around at least watch some gaming.
Yeah, that's Mike. He's from Thunderstruck Workshop. He does 3D printed terrain and stuff.
Oh, yeah,
really gorgeous stuff. Oh man, that stuff's gorgeous. Yeah.
I live in New York City in Queens, and I don't have a room for that unless I'm willing to sleep in a bathtub. And I did that in college, but I don't know. I'm planning on doing that as an adult.
Yeah. Well, you just got to get a castle big enough that you can sleep in.
Oh well, I'll build a me shed in my backyard, and it'll just
there you go.
That's what you do.
Yeah, that's what I'll do.
So, looking back at the convention, okay,
sure,
what are your plans for next year? You gonna do anything different? Anything?
Yeah,
try anything different?
Yeah, we're gonna go. So we decided to try and spread it out a little bit more. We had a room that we were gonna try and use for miniatures games, and it ended up being like for a couple of the VIP games, I guess, in there. And then we had the room where the auction was, and that we're going to use that as gaming space, except for when the auction is. Obviously, we're toying with maybe doing the auction in the hallway. The hallway's pretty wide, and the hotel let us, we can put anything we want out there. So I'm going to offer that to some vendors and see what.
Hallway outside the gaming space might be a good idea for vendors. That's what we're doing because let's face it, that way your vendors get maximum traffic. Because to get to the gaming room, they got to go to the vendors, through the vendors.
Yeah, and I don't want to put I don't want to put all the vendors out there. I really liked having the vendors around the perimeter of the main gaming area. I think it really worked out because I didn't want to I didn't want to separate the vendors and put them in a separate room. And if I had done it that way, if I put all the vendors in another room, then the gaming room would have had more gaming tables, and the noise level would have been louder. So I think it was, really the best that we could have hoped for.
Now, Charlie Funster says, "Who are the VIPs?" So, you have anything on the radar for next year? Any guests you want to ask, or?
So we so this year we had Eric Tenkar. I'm not sure if you know him. We had
love you, Greg.
We had Greg Gillespie, Joe Block, and DM Bloodworth. And
Good crew.
They have all told me that they would love to come back next year. So, maybe tough decisions. You may have to cut some people. I don't know. No, they're all 4 of them are welcome back next year with open arms. They were just wonderful. Everybody wanted to help out. It was just amazing. So,
oh, good. Like I said, it sounds like it was. I mean, you didn't go in the red. There's nobody online griping and bitching and complaining about the convention. So, I talked to Eric extensively about this. Eric had nothing but good to say about you.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic! Even when I wasn't there.
Yeah, even when you weren't there. Amazingly enough.
Oh, okay.
I listen, Raj. I feel like I've known you for a really long time, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Oh, yeah, Emperor's Choice. Those guys had Eric. I how do I describe their setup?
All right,
gorgeous.
It was the pinnacle of any kind of convention setup. It would have turned heads at Gen Con. Just gonna say, it would have confused people at Gen Con because it's Gen Con, but they would have been like, "What the?" You know what? They're great. They really are. I've known them for years. They're awesome guys.
That's how you do marketing.
Yeah.
That's how you. Right. That's how you do marketing. That's it, man.
Mm-hmm.
Make an impression that's gonna last.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Barry Mike says, "I can't repeat how amazing it is not to lose money your first year. Good job."
Yeah. And Mike, I mean, for everybody, and I mentioned this to Don earlier, like at the beginning, at Saturday morning when I looked around, I was, committed to losing $2,000 on this whole thing, and I was okay with that. It was that amazing where I was like, yeah, if this cost me $2,000 to run every year, I would do it every year, hands down. So it was just absolutely amazing to get everybody, coming in, and everything just did great.
Elka Vantiak asked, he'd love to start an OSR Con in Edmonton. How far did your conventioners travel? We're 80% to 90% local. So what was your convention makeup?
Yeah, I haven't really looked at the numbers, so I'm just kind of going off of what I think. But I think probably at least over 50% were from within a few hundred miles.
Nice.
The adjoining states.
Yeah, but still over 50%.
At least, yeah, over 50%.
That is pretty damn good.
And I know there was a bunch of people. There's a bunch of people that came up from Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
There were some people that came in from out west. I think South Carolina. A few people.
Canada, Maine,
Maine, yeah.
Yep, Jersey,
Maine,
Southern Jersey. I mean,
Troll Den Publishing, yeah, came down from Maine with a couple people, yeah.
So it was a good. I would estimate that 80% were within a 5-hour drive.
Sure.
Not, so and you got to think, what's the most you're going to want to drive in a day? For me, apparently, it's 13 and a half hours.
Wow.
I've learned that's my physical limit because I can do it. So that's my limit.
But where'd you learn that one from?
But the reality is, like, when I saw, oh man, even with somebody's destroying their yard, even with potty breaks, this is going to be about a 4.5 hour ride.
Yeah.
That's nothing now.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my god, I won't even have to change to a different playlist
Isn't like closest to the Poconos for you?
Poconos is 2.5 to 3 hours depending on traffic.
Gotcha.
Now the Poconos is going to see. I'll go to the Poconos. I'll be like, we're here already. What the hell happened? They moved this place closer. It seemed a lot farther away before my distances grew. But yeah.
Now, just a little bit of, just to let everybody know about another blog happening this weekend. Me and Roger got invited to. I guess Saturday night we're going to be on the Greyhawk Grognard at 8 o'clock.
Yeah. That is awesome. All right. Joe's a great guy.
Yep. Joe Block is going to have us on. I guess, the two virgins here are going to go on and talk about our conventions.
Yeah. Breaking news. We just settled that. We settled that deal, about 20 minutes ago, I think.
Yeah, about that. Yeah, about a half hour ago.
Yeah.
Well, this happened on Wednesday night on our usual Talking Crit. Ben, it was suggested that, from one of our audience, that we should do a special episode talking about smaller conventions, how to run them, the pitfalls, what you do, what you shouldn't do. And when we do this, I think the two of you are going to have to be invites for that.
Oh
episode.
Boy,
would love it.
All right, just a heads up. Just a heads up.
I may have done this once. It doesn't mean that I know what I'm doing.
We don't want you to know what you're doing. All right. Listen, I've been doing this for years. Do I look like I know what I'm doing?
Okay, and you just brought up actually my next question that I was going to ask Roger. And
oh boy,
what putting on a new convention? What was your biggest pitfalls? Your biggest problems you had to kind of overcome?
Oh man, myself. I mean, just trying to do too much, all at once. I think that's really, and I don't know if that sounds cliche, but
no, it isn't. Trust me, I get it.
I got to what's there's the 80-20 rule, right? Like you work on something, for 20% of the time and you get 80% of the way there, and I really needed to teach myself that. And that was the biggest issue, is I was trying to do too much and just make everything perfect. Everything with the logo. I mean, I edited and modified that over and over and over again, and just didn't like the way it looked. And I print it one way, and then, and things like that. And I kind of did that with a handful of things. And, I think that's part of the reason why we didn't have t-shirts available on site. I ended up going with, print on demand through Amazon. I had a big issue with some of the major printing sites, and they were behind and whatnot. But yeah, so I think that's the biggest thing, is to you just got to do it. You just got to say, okay, this is, this thing's good enough, and move on to the next thing.
My big thing was time management, getting things done prior to the con and not wait till the last minute. That was a big burn on us.
Yeah.
But I'm going to ask the elephant room question, because I absolutely despise them, and I'm very vocal about it. What's your opinion of tabletop events as a venue organization program?
Oh boy. Well, how much time do we have here?
Yeah.
Now, I got to say, I'll say this first. Tabletop events is there. They exist. They exist. Handle running game conventions. They are a website that is there, that is designed to run game conventions.
That's supposedly designed to run game conventions.
Well, right. Now, I don't know. Yeah. Their website is very
clunky,
archaic, clunky. Clunky's a better word. It's very clunky to use.
Because the problem with tabletop events, Roger, was, and everybody is watching this, it was not designed to handle tabletop event conventions.
Sure.
Originally.
So you're saying the name is a lie?
No,
Well,
it's just
I mean,
cake.
I'm literally sitting there at my event, and you're posting that you guys are having problems with your signups. And I'm going to Heidi and Eric Gygax Garland going, check this shit out.
Yeah.
You know? And it's just horrible.
Well,
site.
I activated the to open the event thing for like everybody, but like after you click on that and you hit save, like there's still a thing. So that's my wife who had to handle registration.
Sage words down there.
And so she was the one that had now I got to tell you, when you set up the thing at the con and you got the box, and so long as you're clicked in the box, the scan thing works fantastically. You go boop, and it brings up somebody's ticket, and it's great. Yeah, no, right. I'm not saying it's a miracle, but that part works great so long as you're clicked in the box and everything. But if you have to do anything other than that, like if you have to add a new account or add a new like whatever, my wife had to do that, and oh my God, she's so wonderful.
We're
she's already wonderful
developing
for
a
having
new
to deal
site.
with me. I've heard that, and where is it, Don? Come on.
Yeah, well, it's a very complicated site to do. I mean, and the thing is, one thing that we don't want to do is we don't want to have a repeat and have the same logistical issues.
Sure.
We're actually going to be releasing it as the Wizard Tower Con, or excuse me, Wizard Con site initially.
Yeah.
To make sure that everything works and flows correctly. That'll be up here probably in July. And then as long as everything's working for a couple months properly, we're going to turn on the feature and make it live for everybody. And it just makes more sense.
To try it.
Yeah.
I would love to try it. But it's so strange that there's nothing else that's out there.
Well, really Bad Mike says Doug Raff out so many wars with tabletop events management, and the people who did the coding, he had several workarounds and were far better that they just shrugged it and never implemented. And Steve, by the way, Steve Lakedown, he's a programmer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I think Steve will agree with me on this. And Steve, maybe you want to chime in on this. Is that a lot of the times what they do is they take an existing site that has a code structure that does something, like maybe it was a wedding planning site, and they cobble together at the back end.
Yeah.
And what they do is, instead of, like, me and Steve developed a program called Author Tracker Pro, and it's for book publishing. It works flawlessly. And it's been going for 10 years now, 12 years, 15 years, Steve?
Yep.
And the reason why it goes flawlessly because it was built from the ground up to handle book publishing. What they did is they took an existing code structure and they kind of started cobbling at the back end. And what they're doing is they're basically chasing code bugs constantly. And that's the reason why they're having the issues they are, is because, plus I think they're running right now PHP 4.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, that's not insecure.
Yeah.
Wow.
So they're running PHP 4.0 right now. So they're not even keeping up to date on the coding that they're doing and keeping up to quality or coding standards.
Well, to be completely fair, though, I think I know why, because I ran into this a lot myself as a dev, and I ran into it with customers when I was working at Liquid Web, is, it takes, a lot of these guys, they will cobble something together because that saves you dev hours. Because if you're building it from the bottom up, you've got to build the framework, you got to build the structure. There's so much you got to do, and it costs a lot of dev hours. But if you can just kind of patch over something, that'll save you. You'll spend maybe 10% of what you would if you started from the ground up and did it right. Mm-hmm. So I mean, and if that's how you have to start out, I don't have a problem with that. But at some point, you have to pour the money in and build it from the bottom up and build it right. Because your cobble works good to start with to get you going, but then you got to do it right after that.
And what you do is you start a test server and you begin building on that test server.
Yes.
And you learn from your mistakes from your existing. But that's the problem with tabletop events is I think they're just running off of cobbled garbage on the back end.
Yeah, they don't want to spend the dev hours.
Well, I'll give you an example.
It seems so, yeah.
We had an issue on Saturday that caused me to have to go from the venue in Kalamazoo to my home in Battle Creek. I tried to log in to my panel as the admin, and it said, "You are not authorized." Oh, I couldn't even log in to my admin panel. And you email them and they get back with you quickly. I'll give them that, but their answer is always the same. They give you a link to their common questions, and it's like I don't want your common question bullshit. I'm asking you a critical problem. I got a con going right now, and they say thank you. It's not autoresponder because they wait about 45 minutes to an hour before they get back to you. So there's a human being seeing it. If it was an autoresponder, you send the email within about a minute or two, you get the autoresponder back. So Bad Mike says, FYI, the owners of Tabletop Events are now not the original owners. The original owners did not want to update anything, and the site was failing. Then COVID happened. They wanted to sell. Doug wanted to buy. He goes on and says, Doug was going through chemo and didn't have the money. Another group bought it and did improve it, but a lot of the flaws. Have carried through to the current site. It's
sure.
And I'm kind of, and me and Steve are kind of programmers at the back end. We kind of, this is how we, what we do. And it's really annoying to me when an admin cannot log into their account.
Yeah.
That's an absolute no-no. And, not only that, but it's so convoluted. I mean, your wife would probably say to this, to do the most basic things takes multiple steps that are convoluted and complicated. And it's like,
yes. I
mean, literally when I was sitting at the convention, and Steve will test this, I am no dummy when it comes to operating a complicated website. But I'm getting a hold of like Heidi Gygax going, how'd you get Brew? I mean, how'd you do this and how'd you do that? Because it's just so complicated.
Mm-hmm.
And
unnecessarily so. Yeah,
very unnecessarily so. So it's an interesting thing by far.
Yeah. So I just duplicated by using their duplicate function to duplicate the convention to make next year's. And so I'm still kind of going through the settings and everything and trying. It's weird what brings over and what it brings over and what it doesn't. And, it's just trying to mess with that. So we'll see.
Says, an example is that, go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, I was going to say, if those guys are listening to our podcast, I would tell them, suck it up, pay the dev costs, get your stuff fixed. Otherwise, go throw yourself in the bit bin and call it good.
Yeah. As Bad Mike says, as an example, it's funny Doug found a way for someone who wasn't registered for a con to create games for a con. He brought this Tabletop Events manager's attention, and they told him, "Oh no one ever be able to do that." But they did grudgingly put in a stop to that loophole. And see, that's, and I'm not trying to be mean here, but that's basic.
Yeah.
That is like basic 101. If you're going to have a convention, you should be the one. If you're going to sign up for events, you should be signed up for the convention at least. Yeah. I mean, but I'm bitching and complaining. But
yeah,
wow.
No, I get super nervous every time you click a button and it says, "Okay, we're going to do this thing, and we'll email you when it's completed." And I'm like, "Okay."
And it shouldn't. That's the thing.
Crossed.
We're dealing with PHP. Which is a programming language. Yeah. There should be no waiting for it to be done. You should add the event, the event should be added.
Honestly, what that sounds like to me is they don't know how to automate it on the back end, so they've got somebody sitting there clicking through and doing the stuff for them because
there's someone.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Yep. It's saying, hey, we need to add all of this data into this database. And then, there's somebody sitting at a desk that literally just has to copy and paste it.
Either that or they have like
or something.
A lot of admin panels will have a thing where like if something is added to the site, it goes into an admin panel, has to be approved by the admin, the lead admin behind Tabletop Events. That's what I think is going on here. Because a lot of things that take 2 and 3 days to cycle through should be like literally instantaneous. I mean, literally should be instantaneous. And like I said, I have a real big hard-on for Tabletop Events. I've made no quietness about that, just because of the fact that and I'm a vendor. I mean, as someone who utilizes the site, it shouldn't be that hard. I mean, I shouldn't stress over putting a game convention up like this.
Sure.
Fuki says the sign-up sheets on board work very well. I was glad to see those at North Texas RPG Con. So, Roger, let me ask you a question. next year, what things can you do to make your convention better for people? What can you do to make the process better for people, do you think?
Well, so we're planning on having more people at registration, so they can get in easier. I'm still trying to figure out what's going to be a better way to have the games. I know that obviously people sign up on tabletop events, and we just had, like any other convention, we just had a table that had, all of the events laid out for the day, and then people can kind of sign up. I think there's a better way to do that. I'm not sure what that is. We're definitely looking into more signage, although I think it's small enough, and it was okay getting stuff, around.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as the food thing goes, we've talked about instead of them having to go table to table with food orders, we're going to do like a disc or a colored, a piece of plastic or something that we stick in the table marker, so that they know that table wants food, so that there's people not kind of wandering around asking,
like a Brazilian restaurant. I want more meat.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Something like that. So things like that. I think we're gonna do like a Friday thing. We kind of started a Friday thing anyway, because a lot of people came in on Friday, so we were all kind of hanging out anyway. So I think,
Well, here's an idea for you.
Yeah.
I mean, the table markers, I think, are a good idea, so that they know at least who's where. One of the other things I would recommend is looking into to see if the hotel has a food app, because everybody has smartphones. So why not just have it where, I'm hungry, boop, 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 in the phone, and then it shows up at their table 20 minutes later.
Yeah, I don't believe they have that, but
okay. Well, maybe look in, if they don't have it, maybe look into something that they can integrate with for those food orders. Maybe like it texts someone on their side or drops something in the kitchen or whatever, so that you can do the orders. Just basically automate it instead of having to have somebody wander around and get food orders.
We'll put a wireless button on every table. We'll have a light. We'll have a light and a buzzer that goes off with like a table number. So you get on that, and I expect it to be ready by next June.
That's right.
And there we go. That was the other thing, Don. This is one of the things that I had to learn. I had to learn to delegate.
Yes.
I'm not great at it. So now I'm delegating. Get on that, Steve. Thank you.
Never volunteer, Steve. Never volunteer.
No, I mean, so I think there was really minor things. Really, I mean, I think, and I'm not.
Those aren't minor things. I think that's more normal things.
Sure, normal things. Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, everything went fairly well, I think. So.
Mm-hmm. And the thing is, I mean, for people, and I'll just say it like this, I'm not saying this because you're on the show, is I've actually heard no negative about your convention. Nobody has been bitching and complaining about it. And usually there's fantastic. That one or two that come up, but everybody that I've listened to that have mentioned it has been very positive about it.
Yeah. That's fantastic.
Yeah. That's so great. I think that's really a huge thing that you did. I mean, to have your first convention, have the turnout that you did, have the positive feedback that you did. I think that's actually really good.
Yeah.
Chubby Funster said I'm excellent delegating. The wife calls it laziness. Yeah.
Yeah, I think my wife's still watching, so I'm not allowed to comment on that.
Don't get in trouble. But the thing is I think though at the end of the day, you think overall I think it was really well done. I mean, that's what everybody. That's the feedback I get. I was not there. You did invite me, thank you, but we just could not get there with our schedule and everything. This is so crazy as it is. But
we even had a badge printed for you.
Oh, now you got me feeling really bad. We just we had the Gangbusters release, and there's just no.
No,
way.
I know. I heard there was issues with the printing and stuff, and you had to work.
Well, the big issue was not printing so much,
the editing, right? The software or something.
It was the last minute bits and pieces that you run into, and then you go from a 60-page book, and it's like here's the final print, and it's 200 pages.
Yeah.
a little bit different than what we planned.
Oh, never mind. Yeah, Mark might do that. I'm just...
Yeah. So, but
Yeah.
it overall, like I said, we wanted to come. We are planning on. Matter of fact, my wife PM'd me. She's in the sewing room. We are going to plan on come next year. We're going to make
love to have
that.
you.
So
love to have you.
We'll definitely.
So everything's all straightened out with Gangbusters.
Oh yeah, Gangbusters is straightened out. Speaking of, I have a question for the masses. This is something that relates to Gangbusters. I was approached by a vlogger today. He was doing an interview with Mark, and he wanted a copy of the book cover. Makes sense. And I sent him a copy of the book cover, and he said, no, I need a high-res copy without the trade dress. So he wanted the art only. And I told him that, I know, Bad Mike. Listen, Gangbusters has to come first. I'm sorry.
If they're busting your balls, it means you're loved.
Oh, yeah. I appreciate it. But so this vlogger asked me for a copy of the art without trade dress. And I said, well, that's our IP. We can't do that. And he got pissed.
Oh,
he got pissed and said, I've never had that happen. Now, I went to Eric, in all fairness, and said, Eric, am I wrong here? And Eric assured me.
All right. In my best lower New York attitude, because I'm a city boy, I haven't cursed yet tonight, so I'm going to have to break that. Tell him to go fuck himself. Mm-hmm. I don't know the person from a hole in the wall, but I am a vlogger. I do product reviews. I bring people on the show, and I've never made a request of anybody, hey, give me your cover. But redact all or anything that actually shows what it's for. Your own. No, I just want the art because I'm special.
Well, see, that was my thing. I was like, would you like maybe like a redacted cover, like a piece of the cover? I offered him that. Nope, he wanted the full entire cover, and then came back at me and said, I've done hundreds of videos, and basically told me to shove the game up my ass. He's unjoining the Gangbusters website. Then he called the rollout total crap, got real personal with me. And I was like, and Eric saw I messaged Eric the transcript. I was like, I was nice to him.
Yep.
I was far more nice than he. Yep.
You were professional.
Yes. So, and that's the thing I don't understand about the whole thing is I see as a vlogger, because we have a vlog here. We do this here. We want screenshots. We want snippets. Like I went to your website and I got a copy of your Central New York Con, but that's like me going, I want your artwork, but take off Central New York Con. You'd be like,
nope.
And rightfully so.
To me, it sounds really suspicious, like he was trying to steal something without sounding like he was trying to steal something.
Right. Well, the funny thing is, he's a legitimate channel with hundreds of.
I believe it.
He's got 3,000 subs.
Right.
But
here's the thing: he's done videos with cover art that actually was labeled.
Yeah.
And had the original graphics, and he had cover art that was redacted. So what's the difference? You've obviously taken what you were given. No, my humble opinion, this is a power trip from somebody who thinks they are more important than they are.
Yep.
I got news for you. You're not that important. Neither am I. Okay, in the grand scheme of things. So accept that. And if anybody, by the way, and I've heard this in the past, oh my God, I was told I got to go. Your blog has to cover my Kickstarter because you drive so much traffic. It's bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? May happen once, but no website, no vlog of my size or this guy's size is going to make or break any project. And to have the hubris to think it will, you're out of your mind.
Yeah. Well, it's like what I think it was like Cecil DeVille or somebody like that once said, don't come to me until you're famous. In other words, you need to make yourself famous. You don't need to lean on anybody else. If you can't do it, don't expect somebody else to.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And we try to be nice to him like this, like Emperor's Choice says, that is not right in any sense. Why not have the copyright trademark info on it? And that's why I tried to explain to him, and Eric will attest to this. I said, listen, our IP, that's our IP. And we'll give you, we can give you a section of the cover. We don't mind that, but we can't give you the entire cover. And when you look at the graphic, he ended up posting the video. He said out of respect for Mark, he would do that, but the section of his screen cap is only like this big, anyways, on an entire cover. So it only covers a third of it, anyways. So, if he wanted like the top third of it or something like that, I could see that, but. Basically, I was told I was unprofessional. I did not know what the hell I was doing, and I was nice to him. So
you were polite. I obviously wouldn't be that polite.
Yeah, I was polite.
Okay.
As a publisher, I got to be polite sometimes, Eric. It just sucks sometimes,
I mean, again, that attitude. And listen, if I'm not saying he would, but if Professor DM with 100,000 plus subs said, "Hey, I like to do a video. This is how I prefer to do it, and I like to have a graphic-free section of your art to do it for my screen cap," most people would go, "All right, that's a big enough job."
Yeah.
But listen, I would tell somebody like me to go pound sand.
And the thing is, Professor DM, in all fairness, would when you look at his screen caps, would actually not want the entire cover. He would want a section of it.
Yeah.
And that's what I offered him. I offered him a section with no trade dress because I was thinking that's what he wanted. And, he just was a real big jerk about it. And so, oh, well, get over it, Tinkle Bells. You're going to have to deal with it. So, Fugly says it takes a lot of hubris to tell someone you know better when they never ask. Exactly. So, but at any rate,
important.
Yeah, but Roger, anything else you want to say? There is going to be a Central New York Con 2.
Yeah. I don't know if it's going to be 2 or if we're just going to call it 2026. Or maybe a Roman numeral. I don't know. I don't know.
Call it 26.
Yeah, 2026.
Yeah. So so it's going to be at the same venue.
It's going to be at the same venue. The venue was fantastic. I don't know what's going to happen if we ever have to outgrow that venue. Whether we'll put a cap on it or move. I don't know. At this point, with as well as everything went, I don't think I want to move somewhere else. So. But we'll see. We'll see how next year goes. Maybe things will be
gaming to the poolside. Come on, you could have some people out by the pool.
Yeah. The hotel was a little iffy on that. When I mentioned that as a joke, they mentioned that the pool was for hotel guests, not convention guests. So I told them, can I put about 80 people in my room and then we can all go down to the pool and
yes, and my guess. Oh, by the way, as a side note, I've never mentioned this yet, but the hotel bakes cookies.
Oh, yeah,
the hotel guest and has the best coffee/tea bar I have seen at any hotel.
It's pretty cool.
I swear to God, it was really a great venue. So
it's a big machine, and you can get cold water, hot water.
Cold water is kind of cool. It's not cold.
Well, it's like it's room temperature, probably.
Yeah,
and then you can get coffee, regular coffee, and then you can get iced coffee. And I think in the breakfast thing, the machine also has an amped up coffee, like a stronger coffee, strong blend or something.
They had a selection of teas. They had hot chocolate. I was like, God, this is, where the heck am I? So I'm sorry. I've done a lot of convention hotels, and this was the best setup I've ever experienced.
Yeah. Ben Mike says, keep the numbers something you can deal with. If it means do a cap. We talked about this prior to going live.
So we're considering doing a cap of 300 for next year. So we'll see. I mean, I don't know. We're a year out. Yet we're going to start.
It goes by fast. I'm going to warn you.
It will. Absolutely, it will. But that's something that we're going to try. But I'm thinking a cap of 300. I think is where to go. I don't want to outgrow too big. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with all the vendors. I've got a bunch of vendors that all of them want back in, and then we've got a ton more that want to come in.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll have to figure that out. The Emperor's Choice guys,
they
had. What do you think, Eric? What do you think? They had about probably 18 to 20 feet
probably,
of display.
And if you gave them more room, they would take it like the movie The Blob.
They want more room, and I told them, and I know they're watching. I said, guys, I love you guys, but I cannot give you guys an inch more. I mean, I'd have to, we'd have to get a room just for them,
Mm-hmm.
That may be an idea.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. The Emperor's
Don,
Choice.
didn't you have certain vendors out in the actual gaming room?
Yeah, we had a ring of them around the gaming room.
So there's an idea.
Yeah, that's what we did.
Well, they're in the gaming room right now, but you could have I mean, it was a very nice setup. It was perfect for the
more,
the 10 days you had.
Yeah, and we're gonna have. I'm gonna leave an option open for vendors that have that want to be out in the hallway. I think we're gonna put some out there and see how that goes.
Mm-hmm.
But all the vendors that we had, I don't know. Are you okay with me doing a quick quick rundown here?
Go right ahead.
Because everybody was fantastic. Dave and George at Emperor's Choice, they were on the phone with me from the beginning, and telling me their plan and what they wanted. They're just fantastic guys to deal with. And they were just super excited to come out and to support, and they said they're going to come forever. So that's fantastic. Mike is in the chat. Thunderstruck Gaming. He's absolutely fantastic. This 3D printed dungeon terrain and whatnot. It's really, really gorgeous stuff. And he's helped out a lot along the way. The Treehouse Bookstore, it's a children's bookstore. They do some tutoring and stuff. They actually asked me what to bring to a convention like this, a gaming convention, because they never been to something like this. So I gave her a copy of Appendix N and said,
"Oh, nice.
Here, do this." And she had a ton of Appendix N books and stuff there, some which that were set aside for me. But yeah, no. And so that was really cool. Ravenswood's local comic shop, they donated stuff for the VIP bags. Dreamcastle Gaming, Aaron there was fantastic. That's a game store that's about 15-20 minutes away. They get a lot of like OSR stuff, and they run a bunch of games, that are other than the games that have a big 5 on the cover. And it's fantastic. And then we had Blue Kabuto, Tedious Delirium, and Trina's Trinkets. And then obviously Joe Block had a table, and Greg Gillespie had a table there. But everybody wants back in. Everybody did phenomenally, and I don't know where to put them anymore. I may have to take a couple feet away from Emperor's Choice. I don't know. No, I don't know. Yeah, so we're gonna talk about putting vendors in the hallway, I guess, and or maybe the other room or something. I don't know.
Did you mention the pinball machine?
Oh, and the pinball machine. 2 cousins. Yeah, right. Thank you, Eric. I appreciate that. 2 cousins pinball showed up, and they have a brand new Dungeons and Dragons pinball machine that they brought with them.
Ooh.
And so that was amazing to get people, the experience to play that. And they're talking about bringing 3 or 4 machines next year.
Ooh.
Nice. So, not D&D. They've got like the Black Knight, and they've got a couple other things. I think the Pirates of the Caribbean one is really cool. So
yeah, definitely do that, because we had that at Starbase Indy, and I loved it.
Yeah, yeah. The only issue is like I can't. It's hard to like find a place for them inside the game room because the noise and stuff. At
Starbase Indy, they just shoved it out in the hallway, and everybody knew where to find it.
They were right across on the other side of the hall from registration. It was always an awesome time.
Mm-hmm.
So
good deal.
Yeah. So we had a lot of great vendors, and hopefully they'll all come back, and hopefully we can have a lot more, and we'll just have to figure out the space.
Well, sounds like it was a hit, and can't complain. Not after all the nerves and everything led up to it. So
yeah,
but
it was fantastic.
Well, Roger, thanks for coming on the show tonight, by the way.
Thanks
Really
for having
appreciate
me.
it. Yeah.
Thanks for having me. I love it.
Yep. It's been an hour now. Eric has to cut out of here because you have
my Discord hangout from
your
9
Discord
to
hangout.
ish, whatever the issue is.
So everybody in chat, thank you for coming in. It was pretty busy chat tonight. We have a lot of people in here. Bad Mike, Joe Lawyer, Emperor's Choice Games, Elf of Antioch, Foogly. Names go on and on. Appreciate you guys coming in. Roger, again, thank you for coming on tonight.
Thanks for having me, Don. Anytime.
Yep, and
Steve, get on that the table buttons there, will you?
That's right.
Actually, it was Elf of Antioch was mentioning in the chat about possibly doing an app. So,
So
good.
All right, guys.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Eric. Thank you for coming on, Steve.
Come on,
Roger.
This is my home away from home online.
Yay!
So we will catch you guys next week. Where who knows what the topic will be? We'll figure out something. So we'll see everybody next week. Happy gaming, and Eric, enjoy your thing. Roger, thank you again. Congratulations on first convention being done.
Take care. Thanks again.
All right, guys. Guys, have a good night.